Not too long ago, Atari announced that they were making a new console. Some people thought it was cool, others thought it was nostalgia milking. But there was one key thing that they left out of the press release. They expect you to pay for it. Obviously people pay for it.
Yeah, they're not giving it away for free.
Well, we gotta pay for these things.
This is it.
Shall I again, shall I? They expect you to fund it.
Much better.
Yeah, thanks.
Atari is one of the oldest names in the games industry. The company isn't technically the same company it was back then, but it's been in business since 1972 and it's responsible for classic games like Pong and Asteroids. In a newsletter published online, Atari revealed their first new console in over 20 years. It's called the Atari Box, and the project team said their objective is to create a new product that stays true to our heritage while appealing to both old and new fans of Atari. They unveiled two different designs for the console. The first is a sleek looking red and black design that looks kind of like your average PC case. The second design pays tribute to the old Atari 2600, complete with 1970s style wood panelling along the front and back of the console. Other than the design, not much else is known about the console. They didn't provide any specs or info on accessories or even games. The team only said, we'll be delivering classic gaming content and we will also be delivering current gaming content.
Atari said they are purposely sharing details one at a time because they want to get this right. But they were kind enough to let us know that Atari, the multi-million-dollar corporation, are launching the console with a crowdfunding campaign. It gets better. The investors note read, to limit risk-taking, this product will initially be launched within the framework of a crowdfunding campaign. So Atari are expecting the consumers, its own damn fans, to fund the development of this console so they can minimize the risk to themselves. That sounds shady as f to me. Does it not sound shady to you?
Oh,
they're obviously not confident in their own product and they're not going to investors because they can't sell the idea or a concept to some investors. So to limit their risk or to basically let us risk our money on their product, they're going to crowdfunding. How shady does that sound? That sounds shady as f.
Maybe it'd be understandable if it was an indie company who have got a great idea and they just can't find the funding for it. But this is a company that have been around longer than most people watching, probably.
They've got millions in the bank, this company.
Exactly.
They're sitting there looking at the money, looking at their product thinking, nah, I'm not spending that money on this product. You can fucking fund it.
Why are you going to want to pay for a game that's 40 years old? Unless you're that very small target demographic that can remember the games from the 70s and the 80s, you're going to be paying money to fund a console to play games that are shite, like Pong. If they're going to do an idea like this, a big ballsy idea, at least fund it themselves, you lazy bastards.
Have confidence. Have confidence in your own product. This shows a distinct lack of confidence in their concept. Who the f are they going to convince by saying we're so unconfident that we want you to risk your money? How many Kickstarter crowdfunding campaigns have just been a complete waste of money and the product has never been delivered? There's so many these days and people are more skeptical of crowdfunding, Kickstarter, than ever before. So how the f they expect this to get funded, I don't know. I certainly won't be putting my money down, that's for sure.
What you need to ask yourself is if a company with millions of dollars don't want to take a risk on it, why should you, who presumably doesn't have millions of dollars?
Exactly.
So, ignoring what it means for their own fans, from Atari's point of view, a crowdfunding campaign makes total sense. This is the first piece of hardware they've put out in over 20 years, and the last console, the Atari Jaguar, was a complete and utter failure. So as any business is likely to do in those circumstances, they're looking for ways to minimise any potential damage to their operations. Atari also went bankrupt in 2013, and ever since their recovery in 2014, one of their business philosophies has been limiting operating expenditure and striving to improve profitability and continue to ensure strict control over investments and costs. Ah, a noble and moving philosophy, if ever there was one. However, from the consumer perspective, this comes across as, well, cowardly and just shitty. And it looks like they have no faith in their own product. People online have already been saying this product was dead on arrival when it was announced, and now they know that it's going to be crowdfunded. Well, they're doubling down on this prediction.
You only have to look back at the last crowdfunding console to see how this sort of thing goes down. The Ouya was an Android console made possible by a very successful crowdfunding campaign, which raised a total of $8.6 million. However, the sales of the system were way under expectations, and Ouya Inc. were bought out by Razer in 2015 and the consoles were discontinued shortly thereafter.
There is nothing special about this board. Nothing. Like, nothing.
So naturally, when Atari come along and announce their first console in over 20 years, people are going to be skeptical about it, and us the most. more than anyone.
So there's two things that anybody on the outside looking in can see. Atari's last console didn't do very well. The last crowdfunded console didn't do very well. Put them together, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's looking likely
not going to do well.
It's not going to do very well. Asking people to pay for this is a very ballsy move, considering that you haven't got the legacy that's so favourable. Like Nintendo, for example, would you pay for the SNES Mini if they said we're going to bring out 40 games instead of 20, but we want you to pay for it? I'm sure there'd be a lot of people that probably would. Atari, though, I don't know if they've got that pulling power.
There's a lot of things that, not questions that need to be answered. Firstly, like what kind of games you're going to be able to play on it. They've been very vague in the way that they've described that. Is it new games? Is it new just indie games? Or is it like the older games? Or is it a mixture of both? And also, who this is going to be targeted at? Is it just the nostalgia buyers, or is it going to be competing with the Nvidia Shield, or like what is the hardware that's going to be on this thing? I can assume it's not going to be that good. There was rumors that it was going to be based on PC hardware, but you know that could be just Android based again.
When they say new games, they could be talking about The Witcher 3. They could be talking about Skyrim. They could be talking about Candy Crush Saga, or Subway Runner, or whatever. You know, it could be mobile games made big on the telly. Atari have got quite a bad rep. It's cheeky to ask for crowdfunding, and you need to look into this a lot if you're going to consider funding it.
They obviously see it as a good business strategy to try and go for crowdfunding, but for us, as skeptical as we are here in the office, we think this is pretty damn outrageous, and I think they should go and find funding elsewhere. If they want to take a risk, don't do it with our money, basically. Do it with some of your $1 million that you've already got sitting around, you fucking idiots. That was not so not necessary. So, are you like us? Are you very skeptical about this, the way that they're trying to fund this console? Are you interested in Atari? Do you remember Atari games? Are you like a nostalgia gamer that used to play the awesome Atari games back in the day? Because they were awesome for the day. Let's be honest. Like they were like groundbreaking, and there weren't that many businesses making games back in the day. But can they ride that nostalgia, ride that type of good feeling towards all the old games into the new age of gaming? Because they haven't done anything for ages. Can they? You know, cash in on
Pong
that.
Cool again in 2017.
That's true. Let us know how you feel about it anyway down in the comments.
So what about you? Would you be interested in playing Pong again in 2017? Maybe you are interested in this crowdfunding campaign yourself. Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Why not support us on Patreon? The link's there if you fancy checking it out. And if not, we'll definitely see you on the next one anyway. What the fuck did I derail myself for? We'll see you next time. This fucking